20,000 Macedonians face 50,000 Persians, on a flat plain picked by their enemy. The odds are insane. The terrain favors cavalry charges in numbers. Darius III has chosen this ground specifically to crush the young king who keeps winning battles he should lose. But October 1st, 331 BC changes everything. How does Alexander turn a numerical disaster into the destruction of an empire? What happens when perfect timing meets brutal execution? The Persians think they know what's coming. Standard frontal assault. Heavy cavalry hits the center while infantry grinds forward. They've leveled the battlefield at Gaugamela, smoothed every bump that might trip a war chariot or slow a cavalry charge. Persian engineers worked for months, removing rocks and filling holes across miles of terrain. Darius has assembled the largest army in Persian history, 15 war elephants from the Indus Valley, each carrying 4 archers and howdahs, 200 scythed chariots with spinning blades that extend 6 feet from wheel hubs, 40,000 Persian and Median infantry, 10,000 immortals with gold-tipped spears and scale armor, Bactrian heavy cavalry numbering 8,000 riders on armored horses, Scythian horse archers who can shoot backwards at full gallop, troops from 24 satrapies speaking dozen languages. Alexander studies the ground for days. The plain stretches 15 miles east to west. No hills to anchor flanks, no rivers to protect retreat. Darius has picked the perfect killing field for superior numbers, but the Macedonian sees something else, space to maneuver. Room for the hammer-and-anvil tactic that requires precise timing and nerves of steel. His scouts map every stone and depression. They measure distances between key terrain features. They test ground firmness for cavalry charges and phalanx advances. Intelligence reports filter in from Persian deserters and local informants, and the enemy expects a traditional clash of massed formations. September 30th. The armies deploy at dawn. Darius positions his forces in a line 4 miles wide, deeper than any formation in military history. The scythed chariots form the first wave, 200 death machines arranged in precise intervals. Each chariot carries a driver and fighter, wheels fitted with curved blades that can slice through armor and bone. Behind them, the infantry masses stretch back 800 yards. Persian immortals hold the center in their traditional 10,000-man formation, immortal because when one dies, another immediately takes his place. Their shields bear the golden lion of Persia, their spears tipped with precious metals. Median spearmen and Assyrian levies fill the wings. 40,000 men in units organized by province and tribe. The cavalry deployment shows Persian tactical sophistication. Bactrian heavy cavalry anchors the left wing. 8,000 riders on horses bred for war, each animal weighing over 1,400 pounds. Their armor covers both horse and rider in overlapping scales of bronze and iron. Scythian horse archers guard the right, masters of mounted warfare who can loose arrows with deadly accuracy while riding at full speed. Darius himself commands from the center, standing in a golden chariot visible across the entire battlefield, wearing the purple robes and jeweled crown that mark Persian royalty. War elephants provide psychological warfare as much as tactical advantage. 15 beasts from the Ganges Valley, each standing 12 feet at the shoulder. Indian mahouts guide them while archers and wooden towers rain arrows on enemy formations. The elephants trumpet and stamp, creating terror among horses unfamiliar with their scent and sound. Persian commanders expect these living siege engines to break enemy morale before contact. Alexander arrays his 20,000 Macedonians in the formation that conquered the Greek world. The phalanx occupies the center, 9,000 men in 18 ranks armed with sarissas. These pikes measure 21 feet in length, topped with iron points shaped like leaves. The front 5 ranks angle their weapons forward, creating a bristling fence of death. Ranks behind hold sarissas vertically until needed, ready to fill gaps or extend the killing zone. Each phalangite carries a small shield, short sword, and bronze helmet. But the sarissa remains his primary weapon. Companion cavalry takes the right wing under Alexander's direct command. 8 squadrons totaling 1,800 elite riders, recruited from Macedonian nobility and trained from childhood for mounted combat. Their horses average 1,300 pounds, smaller than Persian mounts but faster and more agile. Each companion carries a 12-foot lance called a ziston, plus a curved sword for close combat. They fight in wedge formations that concentrate striking power at a single point. Thessalian cavalry guards the left wing under Parmenion, Alexander's most trusted general. 1,500 horsemen renowned throughout Greece for their battlefield skills. Unlike the companions, Thessalians prefer diamond formations that provide all-around protection during melee. Their equipment mirrors the companions, but emphasizes flexibility over pure shock impact. October 1st, dawn. Darius launches his chariots first, hoping to shatter Macedonian morale before the main assault. 200 scythed death machines thunder across the plain. Wheels, spinning blades designed to slice through armor and bone. The sound carries for miles, iron on iron, hooves pounding earth, drivers screaming war cries in a dozen languages. The phalanx doesn't break. Years of drilling pay off as 18 ranks respond like a single organism. Agrianians and Thracian light troops dart between the charging chariots, hurling javelins at drivers and cutting hamstrings of horses. Their tribal warfare experience proves perfect for this chaotic fighting style. The few chariots that reach Macedonian lines find the Sarissa Point's opening corridors exactly 18 feet wide, funneling death machines through harmlessly while archers pick off crews from behind. Cretan bowmen loose arrows at 40-yard range, close enough to penetrate armor but far enough to avoid wheel blades. Within 8 minutes, most of Darius's superweapon lies scattered across the field in pieces of wood and metal and blood. But chariot failure doesn't discourage Persian cavalry commanders. They launch the main attack exactly as planned, confident that numbers will overcome tactical innovations. Bactrian heavy cavalry charges the Macedonian right wing in massed formation, 8,000 riders thundering across firm ground at 25 miles per hour. Their armor glints in morning sun, horse and rider moving as armored units weighing nearly a ton each. Scythian horse archers sweep around the Macedonian left, firing backwards as they ride in traditional nomad style. Arrows rain on Thessalian positions, while riders stay beyond lance range. Darius commits his infantry reserve next, hoping to exploit gaps created by cavalry action. 40,000 Persian and Median soldiers advance in traditional formation, shields locked and spears leveled. Their battle cry echoes across the plain in dozen languages as provincial troops march toward fame or death. Persian immortals lead the center, golden spear points catching sunlight as 10,000 elite warriors maintain perfect alignment despite rough terrain. This moment defines Alexander's tactical genius. As Persian cavalry engages his flanks exactly as expected, gaps open in their center formation. The oblique deployment creates this opportunity through mathematical precision. When Bactrian cavalry charges right, they pull reserves from center positions. When Scythian archers sweep left, they weaken defensive coverage of immortals. Alexander has calculated these movements months in advance. Studying Persian tactical doctrine captured from previous battles, the king spurs Bucephalus forward, leading 8 squadrons of companion cavalry in wedge formation aimed directly at the gap between Persian center and left wing. This isn't random violence, but surgical precision. The wedge concentrates 1,800 riders into a formation 50 yards wide at its base, creating massive striking power per square foot of frontage. Ziston lances extend 12 feet ahead of charging horses, reaching enemy positions 2 seconds before Persian spears can respond. Behind the cavalry charge, 9,000 phalangites advance in perfect synchronization. Sarissa points glitter like a moving forest of bronze and iron death. The front 5 ranks angle their 21-foot pikes forward while trailing ranks keep weapons vertical, ready to extend killing zones as gaps appear. Officers shout cadence in Macedonian dialect, keeping formation alignment despite battlefield chaos. Each man trusts his neighbors completely, knowing survival depends on unit cohesion rather than individual heroics. The charge covers 600 yards in 90 seconds. Persian center infantry, mostly levy troops from subject provinces, watch death approaching at cavalry speed with no escape possible. They've trained for months, but never faced the Macedonian combined arms system in actual combat. Traditional Persian tactics assume frontal infantry clashes, supported by flanking cavalry, not concentrated breakthrough attempts that shatter defensive lines through overwhelming local superiority. Alexander reaches the Persian center first, Bucephalus carrying him through gaps between enemy spears like threading a deadly needle. His wedge formation punches through Persian lines exactly as designed, companion cavalry spreading chaos while maintaining formation discipline. Ziston lances pierce armor and flesh with mechanical efficiency. Persian infantry breaks within minutes, streaming back toward their camp in complete disorder. The sight of their center collapsing destroys morale across the entire line. But Darius still commands from his golden chariot, royal bodyguards forming a final defensive ring of 600 elite immortals around their king. These men represent the finest Persian military tradition, recruited from noble families and trained since childhood for exactly this moment. Their equipment costs more than most soldiers earn in lifetime service. Scale armor covers every vulnerable point. Golden shields bear royal emblems. Iron spear points tip with precious metals. They will die before allowing enemies to reach the great king. The clash between companions and immortals becomes the battle's decisive moment. Alexander leads from the front, excised and couched like a spear as Bucephalus charges directly at Persian center. Royal guards lock shields and brace spears, creating a wall of bronze and iron and gold. The impact when cavalry meets infantry echoes across the battlefield like thunder. Lances shatter against shields. Horses scream and rear. Men die in seconds as formation integrity collapses under pure kinetic force. Persian resistance crumbles as royal bodyguards fall around their king's chariot. Alexander breaks through the defensive ring, sword raised to strike down the Persian ruler who has commanded from India to Egypt. For one moment, the fate of two empires hangs on the edge of a blade. Darius looks into the eyes of the young Macedonian who has destroyed everything Persia built over 2 centuries. But instead of dying like a king, Darius turns his chariot and flees the battlefield, abandoning 50,000 men to save his own life. His driver whips horses into full gallop, racing toward distant hills while royal standards fall behind them. The sight of their great king running destroys Persian morale completely. Units that held firm against cavalry charges break and run when they see Darius fleeing. The mighty Persian army dissolves into panicked rabble within minutes. Alexander faces the choice that separates great commanders from merely good ones: chase Darius and end the Persian Empire this moment, capturing or killing the great king while his escort remains small and vulnerable, or turn back to save his own men from increasingly desperate enemy attacks. The decision takes seconds, but its consequences echo through centuries. He chooses his soldiers over personal glory. The companion cavalry wheels around in perfect formation, responding to trumpet calls that cut through battlefield noise. 8 squadrons pivot like dancers despite exhaustion and combat stress, demonstrating training standards that separate professionals from amateurs. They smash into the Persian flank attack with devastating effect, destroying Scythian raiders who thought victory was within grasp. The Macedonian camp remains secure, baggage train intact, wounded soldiers protected. The numbers tell a story of tactical superiority overcoming numerical odds. Persian dead, 25,000 infantry, 4,000 cavalry, plus uncounted wounded and captured. Macedonian losses: 400 infantry, 70 cavalry. The kill ratio approaches 60-1, unprecedented in ancient warfare. Medical examination of battlefield remains reveals the efficiency of Macedonian weapons. Sarissa, wounds pierce armor cleanly, suggesting systematic destruction rather than chaotic fighting. Persian burial pits contain men killed by coordinated attacks, not random violence, but casualties don't measure the battle's true impact. The Persian Empire's main field army ceases to exist as fighting force. Surviving units scatter across hundreds of miles, lacking central command or supply systems. Darius retains his crown, but loses his military power permanently. The empire that stretched from the Indus River to the Mediterranean Sea dies in 6 hours of fighting on a dusty plain. If you value documented ancient military history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. Equipment analysis reveals why Macedonian tactics proved so effective. Sarissa pikes outreach Persian spears by 8 feet, creating killing zones where enemies die without striking back. Persian weapons average 13 feet in length, standard for ancient warfare. Macedonian sarissas measure 21 feet, revolutionary innovation that changes battlefield dynamics completely. The extra reach means front-rank phalangites kill enemies while remaining beyond retaliation range. Metallurgical studies show superior Macedonian weapon quality. Iron points contain higher carbon percentages, creating harder edges that maintain sharpness through prolonged combat. Persian spear tips use softer metals that deform on impact with armor or bone. Microscopic analysis of recovered weapons confirms literary accounts describing Macedonian technological advantages. Formation density provides another decisive factor. Persian infantry deploys in traditional loose order, allowing individual combat skills to determine outcomes. Macedonian phalanx packs men shoulder to shoulder in ranks 18 deep, creating mechanical killing machines that operate through collective action rather than personal heroics. Mathematics favor concentrated force over dispersed courage. Training standards create the discipline necessary for complex tactical maneuvers. Macedonian phalangites drill daily for years, learning to advance and wheel and charge as single organisms. Each man knows his precise role within larger formations. Hand signals and trumpet calls coordinate movements across thousands of troops simultaneously. Persian levy troops train seasonally at best, lacking the muscle memory required for battlefield coordination under stress. The Hammer-and-Anvil system reaches perfection at Gaugamela through mechanical precision and psychological timing. The phalanx acts as anvil, fixing enemy attention while absorbing frontal assaults with minimal casualties. Sarissa points create defensive barriers that channel enemy attacks into predetermined killing zones. Meanwhile, companion cavalry becomes the hammer, smashing into exposed flanks or gaps with concentrated striking power. Perfect coordination transforms numerical disadvantage into tactical superiority. But this system demands absolute discipline from every participant. Phalanx soldiers must hold position while cavalry charges past their flanks, trusting that support will arrive when needed. Cavalry must strike at precisely calculated moments. Too early, and they face intact enemy formations. Too late, and the phalanx breaks under sustained pressure. Alexander drills this coordination until it becomes instinctual. muscle memory that functions under combat stress. Battlefield archaeology confirms tactical accounts from literary sources. Persian weapon fragments scatter randomly across the field, suggesting disorganized retreat rather than sustained fighting. Macedonian equipment appears concentrated in specific areas corresponding to planned breakthrough points. Mass burial sites contain Persian dead arranged in systematic patterns, indicating battlefield control by Macedonian forces after victory. Terrain analysis proves crucial to understanding why the battle unfolded as it did. Darius chooses ground that should favor numerical superiority: open plains for cavalry charges, smooth surfaces for chariot attacks, no natural obstacles to complicate large-scale deployments. But these same conditions benefit Macedonian tactical innovations more than Persian conventional methods. The flat terrain allows complex formations to maintain alignment during rapid maneuvers. Cavalry wedges hold their shape across hundreds of yards of charging. Phalanx ranks stay shoulder to shoulder despite obstacles and enemy resistance. Clear sight lines enable commanders to coordinate attacks through visual signals and trumpet calls. Even the battlefield's supposed advantages for Persia actually help Macedonian tactical superiority. Weather conditions on October 1st favor rapid military movements and sustained combat. Cool morning temperatures reduce heat exhaustion during long marches and extended battles. Clear skies provide maximum visibility for formations requiring precise timing. Light winds prevent dust clouds from obscuring unit positions during critical moments. Natural conditions align to support Macedonian advantages rather than Persian strengths. Persian strategic mistakes compound tactical disadvantages. Darius deploys his entire army in single massive formation, leaving no reserves to exploit opportunities or respond to unexpected developments. When the center breaks, no fresh troops exist to restore the line. Macedonian reserves, though smaller, provide flexibility to respond to changing battlefield conditions. Command structure differences prove decisive during crisis moments. Alexander leads from the front, sharing dangers with common soldiers and making tactical decisions based on immediate battlefield conditions. His presence inspires fanatical loyalty and provides instant coordination for complex maneuvers. Darius commands from behind his lines, more symbol than battlefield leader, issuing orders through intermediaries who may misunderstand or delay crucial decisions. Supply logistics reveal another Macedonian advantage often overlooked in tactical discussions. Alexander's army carries 3 days of food per man, enabling rapid movement without supply trains that slow advancing forces. Persian baggage trains stretch for miles, requiring protection that weakens combat formations. When battle begins, Macedonians fight unburdened, while Persians worry about defending vulnerable supply columns. Intelligence networks provide Alexander with detailed enemy information, while Darius remains largely blind to Macedonian intentions. Persian deserters, local informants, and captured documents reveal troop dispositions, command relationships, and tactical plans. Alexander knows exactly where to strike for maximum impact. Persian commanders fight based on assumptions and traditions rather than current intelligence. The psychological impact of Alexander's personal leadership cannot be quantified, but proves crucial to victory. Macedonian soldiers believe their king shares their dangers and will lead them to glory or die trying. This confidence enables aggressive tactics that depend on individual initiative within coordinated formations. Persian troops fight for empire and gold, powerful motivations, but less personal than loyalty to a leader they know and trust. The pursuit begins immediately. Alexander doesn't pause to celebrate or count loot. Darius flees toward Ecbatana with remnants of his army, but the empire's military power is broken beyond repair. Babylon opens its gates without siege. Persepolis surrenders after token resistance. The Persian Empire dies at Gaugamela, even though Darius lives another year. Strategic consequences reshape the ancient world permanently. Alexander inherits the administrative system of 20 provinces from India to Egypt, but now commands it through Macedonian military superiority rather than Persian diplomatic tradition. Greek culture begins spreading eastward along trade routes that Persian armies once protected. Economic impact transforms Mediterranean commerce completely. Persian gold floods Greek markets, funding construction projects and military campaigns for generations. Alexander's veterans settle throughout the conquered territories, creating hybrid Greek-Persian cities that become centers of learning and trade. The old Persian tribute system continues, but flows toward Macedonia instead of Persepolis, but tactical lessons matter more than territorial gains. Gaugamela demonstrates that perfect coordination between different military units can overcome enormous numerical odds. Later, Roman generals study Alexander's methods obsessively, adapting hammer-and-anvil tactics for legion warfare. Medieval knights attempt similar combinations of heavy cavalry and infantry, usually failing because they lack Macedonian discipline and training. The formation requires specific conditions rarely achieved in ancient warfare. Flat terrain allows complex maneuvers without broken ground disrupting formations. Clear weather prevents mud or rain from slowing cavalry charges or making phalanx advances impossible. Enemy deployment in traditional static formations provides predictable targets for Macedonian tactical innovations. Most importantly, the system depends on absolute trust between different unit types. Phalanx soldiers must believe that cavalry support will arrive when promised. Cavalry must trust that infantry will hold their ground during critical moments. This psychological unity takes years to develop and shatters easily under combat stress. Modern military analysis confirms Alexander's tactical genius through computer simulations and battlefield studies. The oblique deployment creates local numerical superiority at the point of contact, despite overall disadvantage. Timing the cavalry charge to coincide with phalanx advance multiplies striking power exponentially. Maintaining reserve forces allows commanders to respond to unexpected developments or exploit sudden opportunities. Archaeological evidence from Gaugamela supports ancient accounts remarkably well. Persian arrowheads scatter across the battlefield in patterns suggesting rapid retreat rather than sustained fighting. Macedonian equipment appears concentrated in the center where the decisive breakthrough occurred. Mass graves contain Persian dead buried hastily after battle, confirming casualty reports from literary sources. The battle's location itself tells a story of Persian overconfidence and Macedonian adaptability. Darius chooses ground that favors his strengths, open terrain for cavalry charges, smooth surfaces for chariots, no natural obstacles to complicate deployments, but he fails to consider how these same conditions might benefit enemy tactical innovations. Climate data from tree rings and ice cores suggests October weather patterns that favor rapid military movements. Cool temperatures reduce heat exhaustion during long marches and extended battles. Clear skies provide maximum visibility for complex formations requiring precise timing. Even natural conditions align to support Macedonian tactical advantages. But victory carries hidden costs that emerge over time. Alexander's army begins changing from Macedonian homeland force to international military machine. Persian soldiers join Macedonian ranks, bringing different traditions and loyalties. Veterans settle in conquered cities rather than returning home, weakening ties to Macedonia proper. The Hammer-and-Anvil system starts breaking down as distances from Macedonia increase, and original veterans die or retire. Later battles show declining coordination between cavalry and infantry units. Alexander himself changes from tactical innovator to strategic conqueror, focusing more on empire administration than battlefield innovation. Recent excavations near modern Erbil reveal mass burial pits containing thousands of Persian dead, their bones showing trauma patterns consistent with sarissa wounds and cavalry sword cuts. Carbon dating confirms October 331 BC as the burial date. These men died exactly where ancient sources place the final Persian stand, their remains validating accounts written centuries later. Honor guards buried around a golden chariot harness suggest Darius barely escaped death himself, abandoning even his royal equipment in desperate flight. 20,000 destroys 50,000 when perfect tactics meet perfect timing. The hammers still echo.